But the focus is to give a false moral high ground, because to confront the objective truth, an innocent woman was murdered. To confront that, it leaves you no choice but to agree with the other side. And your ego won't allow you to do that. This is an ego-driven game. And if you believe that, as I said, that this is a political stunt or a political conversation, it's only political to the language police. The people who normally respond to this atrocity are doing it objectively on its face. You know, whether it is rape, whether it is terrorism, whether it's genital mutilation, whether it's October 7th, generally people are just objectively repulsed. There's no pivot to language from our side. That's a coward's way out. It's basically an escape hatch to avoid the act entirely. I also find it odd that the same people who shudder at the word illegal have no problems calling their political adversaries Nazis or Hitler, insurrectionists, traitors. The media creates this framework as necessary, and the Dems oblige.
And even in our laws, and he is the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, the law says illegal.
Yeah, as I said on Friday, I mean, the United States Supreme Court, the last decision it made in Arizona versus the United States, talked about illegal immigrants. And the Immigration and Reform Act talks about illegal aliens. And Title 8 of the USC that you mention all the time, Jesse, mentions illegal alien and illegals 93 times. So let's stop making up excuses for not using the language that the law has documented and has dictated is the language of our country. Now, let's talk about the fact that when Joe Biden wants to say, look, these are the people who built our country. The people who built our country were the parents and grandparents of the immigrants today. They were the people who came into this country. They swore allegiance to America. They wanted to be here. They waited in line. And they built this country. This is a different crew coming in right now. This is not our grandparents' immigration. These people are not waiting. They want the welcome mat. There is a quote from Barack Obama in 2009 where he says, you can't come here unless you go to the back of the line. If you come here, you must speak English. Now, if we say this now, we're considered conservative right-wing lunatics. But Barack Obama was saying that in 2009. And he said we can't have 500,000 people coming over our border. This is an unusual, it is a shocking moment in American history. And let me just say that this whole idea about it not being an apology, it was an apology. And maybe Joe Biden, for the first time, was lucid. Maybe he said something that connects with the American people. This guy was illegal. And the fact that he feels he has to defend the honor and dignity of an illegal who committed at least 1 or 2 crimes after coming here illegally, you know what? It's about time we talked about victims. And they're not interested in victims.
Jessica, he must really feel the need to solidify the base in the left wing of the party if he was coached to say what he said in the interview at MSNBC. And then the White House on the other side is like, actually, no, that wasn't an apology. It's weird.
Also, I don't understand this catering to, and we're talking about like the far left wing of the base, right? We're not even talking about normal liberals like myself, right? Like the ones that you tend to run into. Because I don't know anybody who was offended by that. You even saw in Nancy Pelosi's interview where she said he should have said undocumented, but he didn't. It doesn't really matter, right? And where are Bernie Sanders supporters going to go? They're not going over to Donald Trump in all of this. I understand there's still the third party issue, blah, blah, blah. Maybe Jill Stein, who did matter in 2016. They don't have other options. And they're certainly not going to say, I'm turning down, the biggest climate change agenda in history, someone who wants gun reform, someone who wants to protect a woman's right to choose, because the guy said illegal about a murderer, right? He didn't say, I'd like to talk to you about all the amazing things that people who come to this country illegally do. They're, our favorite shopkeepers. They're, the woman down the street who cares for our kids. He's talking about a murderer.
Right.
It totally blew my mind that there was a backtrack. These are the kinds of things that people have historically enjoyed about Joe Biden, that he is relatable and feels normal to them and doesn't speak in that kind of woke speak. And, Senator Alex Padilla from California criticized him, Joaquin Castro. et cetera. I don't believe they were actually offended either. Because what do they want to be associated as a member of the Latino community? You want that guy out. You want the good ones in and the murderers out.
So last week we talked about how State of the Unions are often just quickly forgotten. But this whole scenario about Laken Riley is going to come up over and over again. And the White House, this blew my mind, they actually put out a memo saying another word that they would prefer to use is newcomer.
Yeah, so he's trapped in the worst news cycle of all time. He's now trapped in the Her Report illegal immigration news cycle, and he can't get unstuck. Jessica, you are just so on point, and it makes me so happy to hear that you agree with me. And it wasn't Joe Biden catering to the far left. He was catering to the press.
Yeah.
There's only 3 people that cared that he said this. And they all asked a Democrat and then Joe about it. And that's how it became a story. 3 anchors. 1 on MSNBC, 2 on CNN. That's what happened. So he apologized to an illegal alien killer. And notice, he called the victim the wrong name. Didn't apologize for that. He apologized for saying the right name about the killer. You were right. It's in Washington, they call a gaffe when someone tells the truth. Jesse, you don't say a gun is undocumented. The gun's illegal. You don't say someone committed a non-consensual sex act. You call it rape. You don't say Russia is expanding their borders. You say Russia invaded. You use precise language for a reason. And they are trying to pull the illegality out of border crossing because they want to take the sting out of it, because they know they're complicit in it, and they want to make it easier eventually for these people to get amnesty. If someone breaks into my house, they're not coming in without documents because they don't have the deed. It's a home invasion. They're there illegally. Like the judge said, when you cross the border, you are committing illegal entry. And it's not about respect, because we have respect for everybody. Everybody in this country, in the world, we have respect for. But if someone comes in, breaks into the country, commits a crime in one city, commits another crime in another city, and then murders a woman by bashing her head in, they lose respect. They shouldn't even be called a legal alien. They should be called an animal. They don't deserve respect. And Greg's right. He calls Trump Hitler. He gives this killer more respect than his political opponent, a great American. This guy should get his butt kicked in the debate. He's for CRT at the Pentagon, sex changes for kindergartners. He's apologizing to illegal alien murderers. If Donald Trump stays focused and disciplined, he should be able to wipe the floor with this guy.
Well, that's the biggest if of all time.
Yes.
There is an interesting...
Jessica, you could have just ended it right there.
Well, no, because he said we agreed, and then he said animal, and I never would have said that. But there wasn't...
You called him an animal.
He bashed her skull in,
said
Jessica.
it, sentencing defendants. There are some people who just don't deserve to be called human based upon what they do to other people.
Fine,
Don't deny it.
Then I won't use... No, I'm going to use it. Anyway, there was another immigration plot line this weekend. Katie Britt's story that she told was
come
revealed.
on.
No,
What's that
hold
got
on.
to do with it?
Well, what it has to do with it is people were talking about that, and now some people are going to talk about this, and that's a loss.
Everyone's going to be talking about this.
Well, because SNL was so
He's
good.
the president. All right.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.